June. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now for the Social Democratic Group, Martin Schulz for 5 minutes. Thank you very much, President. Mr. Topolánek, it's very good that you're here in your difficult situation. Being here this morning shows that you're a fighter, but so far you haven't understood what the task of Presidency of Council of the European Union is. If you come here to conduct Czech internal policy, you shouldn't be surprised if we then talk about internal politics in the Czech Republic. But as I see it, you're President of the European Council here. I don't know what your comments about the obstructions by the Social Democrats are supposed to mean. You've also been overturned by two groups, by the ODS and the Greens. That's therefore votes from your own camp. Yesterday, we had a speech by a major European head of government who will be the host of the G20 summit next week, which set out the opposite of what you have now said as President in Office of Council. What Gordon Brown told us yesterday is the opposite of what you have said here. I'd just like to quote you, President in Office. The way taken by the US is historically false. That's what you said here just a few minutes ago. Geithner's way is wrong, and it is the road to hell. That is not the level on which the European Union ought to be operating with the US. You don't represent the Council of the European Union, you represent yourself. That is the big mistake that you're perpetrating. And I also understand why people said at the beginning it's difficult to have a dialogue with this man. President in Office, this is no way. You're taking us down a cul-de-sac. The President in Office said something important. The cancelling of the social summit, the employment summit, is a big mistake in a difficult time where millions of people in Europe are fearing for their jobs, in a time where bankruptcy in banks and insurance companies, also in the US, is meaning that public deficits are in the red to the tune of hundreds of billion to cover the risks. You're calling that the road to hell. In this type of situation where people know that their tax euros and tax crowns have to go to pay for all that, in a situation like that, the European Council are saying that we haven't got any time for that, we're not interested in those problems. That is a fatal signal, it's the wrong signal, and that's why I'm saying, President of the Council, your advice to the President in Office isn't enough. Not a troika open to all. He should invite the summit so that the heads of state and government can shoulder their responsibility for the employment situation in Europe at the beginning of May. President in Office Topolánek, I would like to make you 3 recommendations as we see it for the days ahead. If the governments in the EU commit themselves to devote 1.5% of their GDP in 2009 and 1% in 2010 to mobilise that as a stimulus package, and 4 countries so far have done that, as I've understood it. Now, if all the countries do that, it isn't enough. And it is your task as President in Office to ensure that the states honour the commitments they've made themselves. Secondly, recall the social summit. Show the public in Europe that employment policy and the measures to protect employment are at the centre of the actions taken by governments. And thirdly, make sure that there is clarity as regards what's going on in the institutional issues after the elections. I feel for your position. I know that you're in favour of the ratification of the Lisbon Treaty, but you didn't do that, so that's worse. I know that you've had a lot of problems with your president in the Czech Republic, and I know that you've been upset at every turn, but we're happy to help you, and we're happy to help with your ODS senators so that the ratification process can go ahead. No problem, we're on your side, and we'll do whatever we can, but there's something different here. You must tell us on what basis you want to proceed, on the basis of the Nice Treaty, which is in force, or on the basis of the Lisbon Treaty, which is not in force. But to say in Council we'll start with Nice, and then we'll do a bit of Lisbon, that's not on. So I'm saying, for us, consultation after the European elections, that's fine, but only when the European Parliament has had its constituent session. I don't want to be consulted after the 7th of June without this Parliament having had its first constitutional session. I think we can demand a minimum of institutional respect. So these 3 points, Mr. Topolánek, and then you'll gain our respect.
Vielen Dank für die liberale
Thank you very much for the Liberal Group. Chairman Graham Watson for 4 minutes.
Mr. President, for all the real suffering, there is a light-hearted definition of recession. It's when you go to your bank machine to draw money and